Collecting data in manual logger is simple. We have already seen several examples. Under the new tool run, we can start a new data collection process. Before we actually start collecting data or the tool run, we can edit the timestamp or the time under which the data will be saved if that option was selected when the tool was created. There are different ways in which we can navigate through the tags in order to enter the data. We can use the pane on the left and click or select the tag and then enter the data under the tag value. Or we can use the navigation toolbar at the bottom of the data entry form. There is also a different way to enter data by using the data entry sheet, which allows us to enter data for all of the tags at once. Once we finish the data collection, we have several options. We can save the data for later. We can submit it for approval if that option was selected during the tool creation, or we can send it to the Pi server if again that option was selected. Let's see an example of this. Under the welcome window, we can go to Manage Tool Runs and enter manual data. This will take us to the window where we can start new tool runs. We have a new tool set up, hourly tool number 2, for which I would like to begin a new tool run. Because the option was selected during the tool creation of using the current timestamp, we can see that the default time for the tool is the current time in the computer. However, the time can be edited, and I would like to change this time to a previous tool of, let's say, 9 a.m. I click OK, and I can see now that the tags will use that time that I selected for the tool. The 9 a.m. time that was selected for the tool will be the same time under which the data will be saved, and that's because the option was selected when the tool was created, in that the tags will be using the same time as the tool. However, the time can also be edited in here, and let's say that I collected this tag at 9:10. I can change that time, and when the data is saved, it will be saved under the 9:10 a.m. timestamp. I'm going to collect my data, and I'll say that float 38's value is 20. I go to the next tag by clicking on it, and I say that the value here is 25, and I can see that because of the conditional data entry requirement in which I specified that the Unit 2 tags only had to be collected when PyML float 37 plus 38 was greater than 50, manual logger shows Unit 2 as not being due for collection, and all of the tags under Unit 2 are shown as not being due for collection with an X right next to it. Now let's navigate onto the next tag, and we can see also in the data entry form the X showing that the tag is not due for collection. This will not stop me from entering data if I so desire. Once I complete my tool run, I can save the data and exit. Now let me show you another way of entering data while performing a tool run. I'm going to select hourly tool number 2. I can see that the data was collected at 9:03 and then 10:16 for the last time. I'm going to perform a new tool run. I can see the current time of 1:19 p.m., which I'm going to change to 11:19, and I'm going to say OK. And instead of using the data entry form, I'm going to use the data entry sheet to collect information. All I have to do in here is enter my values under the tag value name. 36, I click enter. 56, I click enter. 89, click enter. 69. Because the first two numbers were greater than 60, I can see that Manual Logger allow me to enter values for the next two tags. I can save the data and exit. In the lower left corner of Manual Logger, I can see that I'm logged in as PyML user, which is a member of the admins group, and it's the full control group for this tool. But if you remember, hourly tool number 2 was configured for data submission and data approval. So we can see the status of all these tools here, which have been completed, but the data has not been sent to the Pi server because the data has not been reviewed or approved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch users, and I'm going to change to a user who is an operator and is only a data collector and not a data administrator. Now, under the user Bob, who is an operator, a member of the operators group, I'm going to perform a new tool, which is going to be the 1221 tool, and I'm going to enter data using the data entry sheet. I'm going to enter the number of 20, click enter, 12, click enter, and now because the first two values were not greater than 50, I can see that Manual Logger shows the tags under Unit 2 as not being due for collection, and the same is shown under the data sheet or the data entry sheet with green rows. In addition, I can see that if I want to enter data, I will not be prevented from doing that. Now I would like to save my data and submit the data for review. So I click submit and exit. I can see the status of my tool run now at 12:21, and the status is submitted for somebody from the PyML admins group to review the data and send it to the Pi server. I can open one of the existing runs and also submit the data for approval. But as you can see, there is no option for me to approve the data because Bob is an operator and a member of the data collector group and not the full access group that can review and approve the data. So under Bob, I'm going to submit this data. I'm going to open the other two tools, submit the data, submit the data, and now somebody under the admins group will have to review and accept this data. I can go ahead and switch users again, and I'm going to log in under PyML, which is an administrator under PyML admin, and now I will be able to open these tools and I will have the option of approving the data. Once I review each one of the numbers or the values that were entered, I can go ahead and approve the data, and I can see that as soon as the data is approved, the data is immediately archived into the Pi server. So now everybody that has access to the Pi server we'll be able to view that data.